In this video, we are going to discuss how we could take two separate data frames that have some similar structure and merge them together and construct one single data frame. And so this is a pretty common task. And let me just kind of motivate like a scenario where you might want to do this, since we've been working with data about tuberculosis cases and population for countries in recent years. You can imagine if you were doing some research and you go to the World Health Organization website, you download some data relating to, say, tuberculosis cases for countries over a certain span of years. And maybe you're interested in like certain economic factors that might be related or not related to health factors in countries. So you go to the World Bank, who also have an excellent database online, and you go to the World Bank database and you download some economic data for countries over the same span of time. And now you've got two different data frames, one that has a bunch of health indicators for countries. You've got one that has a bunch of economic indicators for countries, but you would like to do a single analysis on the possible relation between some economic factors and how they may or may not be related, associated to health factors in a country. And so you've got these two different data frames. You would like to analyze the relation between variables in one data set and variables in another data set. So you need to merge those two data sets before you can do any analysis on them. So that's a very common situation that I find myself in when I'm downloading data online from different sources and I want to merge them together and then do some analysis with that data. So let's just take some of the data sets that we've been working with. So again, if you want to get these code cells running, you'll just need to load the tidyverse. So after you run the library tidyverse command, let's just tidy up table 4A. So let's say, for example, I go and I download data for Afghanistan, Brazil, and China in 1999 and 2000. I get information about their number of tuberculosis cases that were confirmed in those countries in those years. And then I go and I'm going to run this code cell to just show, let's say I have some data from those same countries in those same years about their population. And, I want to do some analysis to see like what's the relation between the number of confirmed tuberculosis cases, how is that related to the population of these countries over these years. So you can imagine a very, obvious thing you would want to do is construct a data frame that has the first column country, the second column year, the third column, let's say cases, and then the fourth column population. So just like the one that we created up here, for example, but maybe where that data came from was we first had two separate data frames that we needed to merge together. Since it might not be possible to get both population and tuberculosis data from the same source. We may have to go to two different places to get that data and then merge it together in R. So we actually don't need to use a tidyr function to do this. We don't need to use a tidyverse function to do this. There is a merge function, and that merge function is in base R, meaning without installing or loading any fancy packages, this merge function is already installed and it is not part of the tidyverse. So how the merge function works is you just enter the name of the data frame that you want to merge. You enter the name of the other data frame you want to merge together, and that's it. So in this case, I would say I want to take table for A, table for B, and merge them together. So notice over here, I stored the tidy version of table for A to TBL for A. I took table for A, table for B, which was not tidy. I ran this command to tidy it up. I stored the tidy version of that table to TBL for B. That was the result printed to the screen. So now I'm merging the tidy versions of each of those tables together to create a tidy version of the data frame that has both tuberculosis cases and population merged together. There is an option to say by, and what this by option is doing is it's just specifying, which shared. So this is saying that the by argument indicates the shared columns we want to match the rows by. So in this case, it's saying we want to match the rows using country and year from each of these columns. So the default was it knew to do that, but we could customize it if we want to specify that manually. So the merge function works super nice. I did not store this output anywhere. So let's take a look at what happens with that output. So notice here, nothing was printed to the screen, right? Because I stored the output instead of printing it. But let's print it and see what happens. Nothing's going to happen there. So if we print my output, what went in was a tibble. What went in was a tibble. What came out, I'm looking at this, I believe this is a data frame. We can print the entire thing. We can see, yes, what comes out is a data frame. So keep in mind, this merge function is not a function in the tidyverse. So it's kind of defaulting back to the older data frame structure, which is fine. But if you want to do some stuff within the tidyverse, just know that, again, we talked about some of the more subtle distinctions between data frames and tibbles, that you might want to convert this to a tibble if you wanted to do something with it in tidyverse afterwards. So the way that you could do it is you can merge those two things together and then convert it using the as_tibble function. And just recall that the as_tibble function requires that you load the tibble package, or that you load the tidyverse, and that it is as_tibble. And now this merged those two tibbles together, but the default of the merge function is that it creates a data frame. So then it took that data frame and converted it to a tibble, and that will work a little bit nicer if you're then going to use this data frame inside of the tidyverse. So you just keep that in mind, that the output of the merge is a data frame and not a tibble. And I might recommend converting it to a tibble if you're going to use that data frame with functions in the tidyverse.